TV. And this is for anyone who is upset that Maren's WTF podcast has ended, which is me. It was one of the very first podcasts. It ran for 16 years. I've listened to it so much that I think my inner monologue sounds like Mark Maron. Anyway, his final guest was Obama, and it was basically Maron asking him, what do you do when the thing that has defined your life has ended? And it was a great episode. Maron has become a great interviewer over the years, and he knows when to get out of the way and make it not about him. But what I loved was that Obama just seemed like some guy who watched a lot of Maron, and he referenced a joke from this HBO special that made him laugh. And he said it was that progressives have to work on their buzzkill problem because we have annoyed the average American into fascism. And I love that he had watched Maron's special before coming on the podcast, and he just sounds like some guy. So it's a great special. If you haven't seen it yet, you can watch the whole thing. It's finally on Sky Comedy and Now TV.
Excellent. That's the one. So usually I download something, don't I, when you two are doing your must watch.
It's like a competition.
Didn't touch my phone when you were saying boy bands forever. That one, I'm going to make. I've seen enough of it. That one I'm going to try to watch. It's on Sky Comedy and Now TV. Yeah. Okie dokies. Next week you've already mentioned
Down Cemetery Road.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Are you both obsessed with Celebrity Traitors?
I mean, you can't avoid it. It's the most watched TV show this year so far, nearly. I think it's about to beat Adolescence in overall ratings. Can't really be any bigger on TV.
It's rather impressive. Don't forget, you can listen to Must Watch on BBC Sounds each and every week. Head to the app, search for Must Watch, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And I love it when you email us, Scott.
Mustwatch at bbc.co.uk.
Got Hayley, bye-bye.
Bye.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks so much, Nugget. Yeah, it's 2 o'clock. It's actually live from Westminster on a Monday afternoon. It's Monday, so you know what that means. Americast. The Americanswers answering your America questions and giving you America answers. Anything you want to know about what's going on in America right now. 85058 on the text. 08085 99693 on the WhatsApps. Get in touch, we'll get you on. You can ask me your questions direct. I'll tell you what else is coming up after we get the latest news from Richard Foster.
Thanks, Matt. Good afternoon. The Prime Minister has accused the Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin of shocking racism after she said it drove her mad to see adverts full of black and Asian people. She represents Runcorn and Helsby and has apologised for her comments on Talk TV. But Sir Keir Starmer says it's a serious issue.
It's the sort of thing that will tear our country apart, and it tells you everything about reform. And Nigel Farage has got some questions to ask, because either he doesn't consider it racist, which in my view is shocking in itself, or he does think it's racist, and he's shown absolutely no leadership.
5 members of a Romanian grooming gang have been jailed for raping and sexually abusing 10 women in Dundee. The 4 men and 1 woman plied their victims with drugs between 2021 and 22. They were each sentenced to between 8 and 24 years in prison. The oil and gas services giant Petrofac has filed for administration, putting thousands of jobs at risk. The Aberdeen-based business is involved in operating North Sea oil platforms for BP and Shell, with offices in London, Woking and Great Yarmouth. A hurricane heading towards Jamaica is now a Category 5 storm. That's the highest on the scale. Hurricane Melissa is due to make landfall within 24 hours, bringing deadly winds, storm surges and catastrophic flooding. Joe Van Johnson is from the newspaper The Gleaner.
Mandatory evacuations have been issued for at least 7 low-lying communities on the south coast. The authorities are having some difficulty getting persons to heed those warnings, particularly because while they're accustomed to hurricanes, this one is particularly different. It's a rare Category 5. We've never been hit by a Category 5, not since recorded history.
A man has died in a crash after driving the wrong way on the M6 in Lancashire. Police say his Vauxhall Astra hit a Toyota Corolla near Charnock Richard Services just after 9:30 last night. The road was closed southbound for more than 15 hours, but reopened just over an hour ago. 2 men in the Corolla are in hospital with their injuries. Steve Coogan and 2 production companies have agreed to pay substantial damages to an academic who claimed he was misrepresented in a film about the discovery of Richard III's remains. Richard Taylor sued for libel, arguing his portrayal in the Lost King seriously harmed his reputation.
We finally established that the film is a defamatory portrayal of me, baseless. Its depiction of me and a distortion of the search for Richard III. And I don't let that detract from what was a fantastic piece of teamwork, a collaborative experience where university academics and amateurs came together to search for Richard III.
That's the news. Molly Stevens has the sport.
Thank you, Richard. England manager Serena Wiegman is hopeful that goalkeeper Hannah Hampton will be available for tomorrow night's friendly against Australia at Pride Park. Hampton missed the Lionesses' 2-1 defeat to Brazil at Wembley on Saturday with an elbow injury. We'll have commentary of that one. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night on 5 Sports Extra. One of Sheffield Wednesday's joint administrators has told 5 Live that they have 4 or 5 serious bidders and the club could have new owners by the end of the year. The Championship club was placed into administration by the current owner, Dapron Chansiri, on Friday. Wednesday must remain on the market for at least 28 days under English Football League rules. Aston Villa defender Matty Cash has signed a new 3.5-year deal with the club until 2029. The Poland international joined Villa from Nottingham Forest in 2020 and has gone on to make 193 appearances for the club. Cash scored his second goal of the campaign as Villa beat Manchester City 1-0 yesterday. And in rugby union, Talupe Faletau is out of Wales's autumn series with a knee injury. The British and Irish Lions forward has been replaced by the uncapped Ollie Cracknell of Leicester Tigers.
On Radio 4, the more you listen, the more you see.
It feels like Mad Hatter's Tea Party.
I'm Amandiucci, and this is Strong Message Here, where we stress test political buzzwords and phrases.
Ordinary people are slightly related to the Westminster bubble in the sense that they're not in it, and it's very, very burstable.
Every week, along with guests, writers and comedians, we will cut through the waffle.
Make something out of the thick of it.
Strong Message Here, decoding the doublespeak of politics. Listen on Radio 4 and BBC Sounds.
This is the voice of the UK.
Matt Shawley.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Afternoon. Here we are again, live from Westminster as ever on a Monday afternoon. There's quite a lot going on, it has to be said. From an accidental prison release to asylum hotel bills, taxes going up, Prince Andrew's fall, and everything else in between. No wonder Keir Starmer went on the radio over the weekend and just picked some of his favourite music, including the band Orange Juice. But what is it about their big hit which is so appealing to the PM? Prime Minister chooses a band whose big hit was called Rip It Up and Start Again. I'll leave you to write your own joke there. Right, on the show today, in this half hour, we'll tackle one of the things you'd like to rip up and start again, that accidental prison release. We're going to hear from the Justice Secretary, David Lammy, later on. He's giving a statement to the Commons. We'll hear from one of his predecessors, Alex Chalk, on that story in just a moment. Then Crick and Quinn return, Michael Crick and Carolyn Quinn, on trying to fix broken systems when everything seems broken, and how to protect MPs from abuse. There's a new report out on that in the next half hour. We'll also ask, is Reform UK impossible to manage? We'll do all of that with Crick and Quinn. Then, and our big thing at 3 o'clock.
If you want to hear Sarah and me boring on about the gubernatorial fight in Virginia and New Jersey, it's all wherever you get your podcast.
Nothing like an advert that says, if you want to hear us boring on.
If you think this is boring, there's even more boring on BBC Sounds. Yeah, boring Americast is here at 3 o'clock. So, what do you want to know from the Americasters today? Maybe you saw Kamala Harris' interview with North Koonsberg yesterday. You've got questions about whether or not she could run again, whether or not she might win if she did run again. What is going on with the ballroom? Who's giving money to pay for it? What was in the East Wing? Where's that going to go now? Could Donald Trump run again? Steve Bannon giving an interview saying there's a plan for him to run again in 2028, which isn't what you'd call technically constitutional. Any questions at all? Or maybe there's something else you've seen which is going on in America and you just want our Americasters to explain all. 85005 out the text, 08085 999 613 on the WhatsApps. We'll get you on just after 3 o'clock today. Also on the show today, can you teach 2 to 6 year olds about democracy through sing-songs? In a completely separate story, should every child have an extra 10 days off school without a fine? That's been debated in Parliament later. What should be on Keir Starmer's Northern Soul playlist after we revealed to Radio 3 as well as enjoying classical music and the band Orange Juice? Apparently he also likes to listen to Northern Soul while he's chopping things in the kitchen. Everywhere there's cuts. And obviously that was the joke. And I achieved something over the weekend. Not a huge amount. As I said, a nice quiet weekend. I was discussing with Nago earlier. I watched the Godfather, which took up most of the weekend. And lots of you got in touch to point out that I can't complain about things being 90 minutes long when this programme is 2 hours long. But one thing I did manage to achieve was I was doing Newsnight on Friday night, and we had Jimmy Wales on, who founded Wikipedia. And I was talking to Shoaib Amari, who's from Unheard, who had about how some on the right and Elon Musk have a problem with Wikipedia. They think it's too liberal or inaccurate or biased or whatever. Anyway, this is what Shoaib Amari said, and I took my opportunity to try and right along.
For Elon Musk to lecture Wikipedia, I mean, I have my own objections to Wikipedia, but for Musk to lecture Wikipedia after what he's done to X is a bit rich.
Well, we won't litigate all those now, although my dog's breed is wrong, if you can do anything about that. If you can do anything about that. We'll all pick up with you our particular issues with our Wikipedia pages. And it's worked. It's worked. So within 2 minutes of Newsnight finishing on Friday night, someone went on to Wikipedia, and my dog is now listed as being a retriever and not a Labrador, which is what you listed before, which is really not at all good form. So yeah, it's now all been fixed. So thank you to Bram880, the Wikipedia person who sorted that out. Right, stay with us for more of this sort of content over the next 2 hours.
Look, you have to listen to Matt Chorley. He's a very, very smart person. He's great with the topicality. You would not believe how clued up this is.
Matt Chorley.
I listen to him the whole time. I have it piped into the White House.
On BBC Radio 5 Live.
So let's look ahead then. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, is going to make a statement to MPs later this afternoon on the details of this extraordinary story which emerged on Friday and then over the weekend. The convicted sex offender who was accidentally released from prison on Friday instead of being sent for deportation. David Lammy expected to outline new checks on prisoners being released and give details of an independent inquiry into how Hamish Kabati was mistakenly set free. In a moment we'll hear from Alex Chalk, a former Justice Secretary, but first here's Housing Secretary Steve Reed giving his reaction to hearing the news about the accidental release.
My jaw was on the floor. How on earth could that have happened? All of us just as shocked as anyone else hearing that news. This individual had no right to even be in our country, let alone committing the kind of offences that he committed. He certainly shouldn't have been released by accidents in that way. That is a sign of a broken criminal justice system, I'm afraid. But we knew it was broken already because of the fact that the prisons were full up. We didn't have the staff to process safely individuals because the number of professionals working in the criminal justice system have been cut by a third under the previous government.
Well, listening to that was Alex Chalk, who was the Justice Secretary in Rishi Sunak's government from April 2023 until last year's general election. Steve Reed says we knew the criminal justice system was broken. Did it feel broken when you left it?
Well, look, it certainly felt under intense pressure, and I was really candid about that. So, I mean, particularly in the prisons where they were running at a very, very high level of capacity. And it was partly because sentences have got longer, it's true. It's partly because COVID had this massive scarring effect, so that the number in remand, that's to say in pre-trial detention, had gone from 9,000 pre-COVID to about 16,000, and since then it's ticked up to 17,000. So you immediately see, in the context of a total population of about 88,000, that's a massive additional pressure. So yeah, look, the pressures were there, there's no doubt about that. And look, to be clear, there were releases in error before, just to be absolutely frank about that. What's really worrying is that the number of releases in error have more than doubled, and furthermore, those tended to be people coming out, say, a day early or 2 days early because someone had got the calculation wrong. This is quite different. This is like a never event where they've literally released him when he should have been remaining in custody. So that's a real worry.
Just on that, I take your point about remand, and that was because cases weren't happening, so people who were on remand and waiting their trial, there was more and more delay. But it is also the case the Conservative government kept increasing sentences, creating more offences. There's always that, rush by politicians to be tough on crime, creating more offences, extending sentences, while not putting money in to create the places to make that up. That is the case. That is what happened.
I think there's a fair criticism, actually, because I think all politicians